What is up, crap stains? JJ back here from Run Pure Bets with another free pick for it. This time it's going to be an ATP men's tennis for the U.S. Open on Tuesday, August the 31st. Match is going to be played between Tommy Paul and Roberto Carballes-Baena. Betting spread is Tommy Paul minus 600. Total 34.5 games. A wacky weekend for me in Major League Baseball. As I did have some tough results from the live shows. As always, though, I'm here for the losses. Never really running from them, that's for sure. I went 0-2 on Saturday and 0-2 on Sunday. Felt I had at least two really good looks out of those four. Miami Cincy over 7.5 from Saturday, where 5 runs got scored in the first. And then a first 5 under 4.5 from Sunday that lost, I believe, on like an 0-2 2-out bloop single in the bottom of the fifth. I may be acting a bit biased, but I felt those two in particular had more than good chances to cash and just didn't. And I think it goes without saying, right, and sometimes that's the big difference, right? Whether it's like on the winning end or the losing end, those are the big differences between really bad days, really good days, vice versa. Hitting those bets, I mean, look, it does make a difference. I mean, think about it. Literally, that's the difference between going 2-2, losing a few pennies a vig, and 0-4. It's all about mindset, though. A tough weekend nonetheless. Moving forward, though, we have the U.S. Open here for tennis, and I want to focus my next 2 weeks here on the U.S. Open and college footsies because, after the U.S. Open, then it's NFL and college football together. For me, anyway. This is the last major tennis to be played until practically January. So I figured I'd sprinkle in a tennis play here for you guys for a Tuesday as MLB kind of winds down for me. It's been a tough Major League Baseball season for me in recent memory. Sure, these solo vids have been okay, but my own ROI collectively has just been a tough year for me. And it's like I always say, no one, and I mean no one, wins every sport they bet every single season, especially if you bet multiple sports season long. Now it's the first time I've lost money betting baseball over the course of a season in probably 5-6 years. Now I've had a tough NFL season from time to time, a tough college basketball season from time to time, a tough tennis season from time to time, but overall, yeah, I mean, college football is my best sport, but overall been a tough year for me in MLB. But needless to say, you just kind of grind through it, right? You just kind of push through, and the other thing I'll tell you is you guys shouldn't be betting more than 2 sports at a time. And then you rarely see me do it. I'm not going to say like the occasional one-off play here and there, but if you're betting like 3-4 sports at a time, I mean, yeah, you're destined for bankroll failure. So just keep that in mind whenever you're making sports wagers, and obviously as you get a bunch of sports kind of collaborating at the same time. Like for instance, you're going to have baseball, college football, NFL. I mean, tennis is winding down, but you're going to have NBA kind of merging in there as well in a few months. So overall, just kind of pick your spots and make sure that you're able to stay profitable with whatever it is you're doing, and make adjustments as you can, and kind of downswing with the slow down with the downswings, speed up with the upswings, and just kind of keep yourself better calibrated in that respect. But some little piece of advice for you. Okay, so anyway, Tommy Paul. Now let's talk on U.S. Open. Tommy Paul's a big favorite here, and deservedly so. I'd even argue he's not as close to a big enough favorite as he should be. My favorite look here is actually under 34.5 games, minus 115 at DraftKings in New Jersey. I'll be honest, betting unders this low in tennis matches in majors, on the men's side specifically, because they play 5 sets. It's not something I often, or can't play up 5 sets. It's something I'd like to often do or even enjoy. It just requires so little room for error. But this number should be 32.5 or 33. When Tommy Paul first came up in the ranks, early age in 2015, it was figured he could be one of the next big American players. He hasn't exactly let down in that case, but he certainly struggled to go from great to elite. He has quite a lot of tools, though, to be elite, but he can often get in his own head. He's quite fiery on the court, and while at times this can help him, it can also be his demise. Tennis is an emotional game, and the way the scoring works only adds to that influence emotionally. Paul's a guy who I do like to target often, though, is he's not somebody who's necessarily market friendly, if you will. What I mean by this is Tommy Paul doesn't often take money, and this can be a double-edged sword, though. But one thing about Paul is that he rarely loses to players he should not. He also struggles against players with big serves. Those worlds collide quite nicely here. He's not the type of player, though, like you'll see certain players that will always work for your money. He's not. Tommy Paul's not always going to be like that, because again, he kind of gets in his own head and sometimes just kind of mentally checks out of matches. But that should not be the case here. Roberto Carballes-Baena is a fine player who relies primarily on acting like a backboard to find success and force opposing players to make unforced errors. He loves the clay as his preferred surface, and actually doesn't play a whole lot of hard court matches, all things considered. This is primarily because he has a below average serve and lacks powerful weapons. He can certainly keep rallies alive, though, and wait for his opponents to make mistakes, as I mentioned. The issue on hard courts with Carballes-Baena is he's often susceptible to opponents' power. Now, I also have concerns over his own fitness and health levels because he just retired against Jarry less than 2 weeks ago and has really only played one hard court match since February, early February anyway. He's likely to see a ton of pressure from Tommy Paul on his own service games. Speaking of Tommy Paul, he has little reason to lack confidence right now. After Paul got over his bad and rare loss to a player like Galen Riveros, he put up some good results in Toronto and Cincy before losing to two top 25 players in each venue, respectively. The mental aspect, always a question mark with Tommy Paul, and with bets like this, he can go a match. He can end up getting a little bit complacent, especially if he gets a lead, like he goes up 2-0. He could get a bit complacent. And look, but I think in this spot, the answer is going to be no in terms of him going complacent. Look, Paul's fitness levels have been fine. Carballes-Baena won't be able to get much by Tommy Paul. This match, regardless, will be won and lost on Paul's racket. And it's just such a bad draw for Roberto. In this match, expect a lot of lengthy rallies, especially on Roberto's serve. Tommy Paul would have to play some really foolish tennis, though, to not win the majority of those rallies. Strategy speaking, Carballes-Baena is going to do his best, act like a wall impression, trying to get everything back. But Tommy Paul can't get greedy and go for low percentage winners early in points. And it's not to say he can't make those low percentage winners, but he won't have to here. Move Carballes-Baena all over the court and set up high percentage winners or even force unforced errors or forced errors at that point from Roberto. Now, overall, this was a gifted first-round matchup for Tommy Paul, who has recently found some decent form in his last two hardcore venues, and he draws a player in Roberto here who not only struggles mightily against inferior players, he lacks hardcourt experience in recent months, and Paul should put countless pressure on Roberto's serves and have many cruise control service games on his own racket. Big issue here about actual match play from Paul has nothing to do with the match itself. It's all mental. Complacency and him properly riding the match's emotions. Now, Paul is known to let up in a service game or two in a random sort of way. He will likely get away with it here, or should, but he can't let it dictate the match, for him mentally. This is a match Paul should win easily. Anything less for me, and it's just not going to be a confidence builder for him moving forward into this draw. I like Paul to be motivated for a win here and not let the littlest things bother him. He draws an opponent he has no business losing to, and that should only help calm any fires mentally that go on or pop up in the back of his mind during this match. He just knows he's the much better player. Too much power, too much fluid movement should prove to be enough to win in smooth sailing fashion. A few narrative street police. I know Tommy Paul has two first names, and those folks are always tough to trust. But numbers-wise, this line's simply too short. So again, best bet is Paul versus Carballes-Baena under 34.5 total games. Got this minus 115 at DK in New Jersey. May the odds be ever in our favor. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Create some fake accounts more. Thumbs up. If you did not enjoy it, I hope you fall down on a Lego piece. As always, drop comments below with your thoughts on the play. Let me know who you're betting for the Open here, right? Men's, women's, doesn't matter. Just drop a comment because no one, and I mean no one, likes a silent stalker. Spread's going to help us out with tennis on the ladies' end. Joey's got us covered in Major League Baseball this week. I'll be talking golf with the crew on Tuesday night as usual. College football at the back half of the week. So yeah, busy week full of fun-filled action. Now be sure to check us out, Run Pure Bets, runpuresports.com. And as mentioned, I'll be talking tomorrow night PGA with the DFS crew. But until then, be sure to gamble responsibly, stay safe, folks, and run pure.